Attention must have a ground. It cannot remain without a place to remain within. It cannot stabilize without a point of origin. And that ground is the mind, not the world, not what is physically seen, but the mind. This is the 7-minute daily focus, day 102 of 365, to focus on the world within from the world without. Today's focus, the law of attention, the ground of attention. Pause for a moment. Attention must have a ground. It cannot remain without a place to remain within. It cannot stabilize without a point of origin, and that ground is the mind, not the world, not what is physically seen, but the mind as the metaphysical ground within. The ground is what allows attention to stay. It is what gives attention its stillness. It is what prevents attention from being pulled by every movement of appearance. Without a ground, attention becomes movement, and movement without direction leads to instability. Pause. Thought is within, effect is without, and thinking stands between. Attention must be placed within that structure, but more than placement, it must be anchored, because placement without grounding will not remain. If attention is placed on what is physically seen, it will leave the ground, and when it leaves the ground, it loses stability, because what is physically seen is always changing, it is shifting, it is moving, and it is responding to what has already unfolded. It is not origin, it is not constant, and it is not a ground. So the question is not simply where is your attention, but what is it grounded upon? Because attention grounded in appearance becomes unstable. It rises and falls with conditions. It strengthens when things look favorable, and it weakens when things appear to contradict. And in doing so, thinking becomes inconsistent, and inconsistent thinking cannot produce continuous unfolding. But attention grounded within becomes steady. It does not rise and fall with appearance, and it does not adjust to what is seen. It remains with what is known. And in remaining, it stabilizes thinking, and stable thinking sustains unfolding. Thinking determines outcome. Attention determines what thinking stays on, but the ground of attention determines whether it can remain. So, if attention is not grounded, it cannot sustain thinking. And if thinking is not sustained, unfolding cannot continue. And if unfolding cannot continue, expression is delayed, not denied, delayed, because the seed remains intact, but the continuity required for its expression has been interrupted. So the ground is essential, not optional. Essential. It is the difference between stability and reaction, between continuity and interruption, and between unfolding and delay. This is the distinction. Grounded attention, placed within, anchored in the mind, stabilized on thought, unmoved by what is physically seen, continuous, ungrounded attention, placed on appearance, anchored in conditions, moved by what is seen, reactive, interrupted, and what is interrupted cannot complete, because completion requires continuity, and continuity requires grounding. Recognition determines what is received. Attention determines what is sustained. Ground determines whether attention remains. Thinking determines what unfolds, and what unfolds becomes what is physically seen. So if you wish to stabilize outcome, you must stabilize attention. And to stabilize attention, you must return it to its ground, not once, but continuously, because attention naturally drifts when it is not anchored, and drift leads to reaction, but grounding restores direction. This is where steadfastness becomes power, not doubtfulness, not struggle, not force, not pressure, but groundedness, attention anchored within, thinking aligned with the seed, unmoved by what is physically seen. Because what is physically seen cannot be your ground. It is the result, not the origin. And if you treat the result as the ground, you will always be reacting to what has already occurred. But when you return to the ground within, you remain aligned with what is unfolding before it is seen. So today, we return to the ground, not occasionally, but deliberately. You notice where attention has been placed, and you ask, is this grounded within, or is this following what is seen? And if it is following what is seen, you return it, not with force, but with recognition, because recognition restores position, and position restores stability, and stability restores continuity, and continuity allows unfolding to continue. You are not controlling the world. You are returning to the ground again and again and again, and every return strengthens the ground, and a strengthened ground stabilizes attention, and stabilized attention aligns thinking, and aligned thinking sustains unfolding, and sustained unfolding must express. This is the sequence: ground, attention, thinking, unfolding, and physical expression, and it begins within, always within. You are allowing what already is to unfold, not creating, not forcing, but grounding attention, so that thinking can remain, so unfolding can continue, and so that expression can occur. And now, the affirmation for day 102. Pause for a moment. Thinking is continuous. Through thought, I become aware that I am thinking. I think from within. I recognize from within, not from what is physically seen. My attention is grounded within. My attention remains with the seed. I remain aligned with what is within. I remain steadfast. I sustain the seed through active thinking. I remain with it. And because I remain, it unfolds. And what unfolds must physically express and remember by design and by focus.